How you doing back there? You guys You doing good? Okay. Well, I am so glad to be here. This is such an honor.
I'm so glad you came. You can't.
Thank you very much.
And then you actually showed up.
Let me introduce my sister. This is my sister, India. And today is her birthday.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
She's 27 years young.
Whoa!
And holding.
And holding.
Right.
And this is my beautiful daughter, Angelique.
Hi, Angelique.
Her birthday was yesterday.
Ooh.
And she's actually 18. That's her real age.
Everybody goes, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Well, before I get started, I have some poetry. I was asked by a good friend of mine, Inda Barnes, to come and to be a motivational speaker for you all. And so what better way to motivate everyone with some poetry? Because that's what I do. I'm a poet. And I used to do spoken word, but I have a little bit of problem with memory. You know, because of my diagnoses, or diagnoses. But that was a little pun there, a little humor. But in all actuality, I do have a little bit of problem with my memory. But I just came by to tell you today that I guess some people call it the higher power. I choose to call him God.
Yes.
He has blessed me tremendously. Amen. And prior to my illness, I was actually involved heavily in the entertainment business, and I did some spoken word. I used to have a show in the Bowery in New York. I've written plays, which were performed, Broadway and off-Broadway. And I've dabbled in a lot of different things. Film, you know, I've done a few commercials. So I've been around the block a few times. But once God put me in a place of recovery and wellness, I was able to get back into writing my poetry. So I have 3 poems that I'm going to recite for you today. And after that, we'll have some Q&A, or questions and answers, okay?
Okay.
All right, beautiful.
Q&A. I like that one, for sure.
Okay. And for those of you, I probably forgot to mention, my name is Darnelle Holly Gaines, okay? And I have a few business cards if you'd like to keep in touch with me. We can provide that at the end as well. Okay. Now, this first piece is called The Psychology of Insanity. Do you know what the legal definition of insanity is? Doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. Well, I applied that theory with prayer. I communicated with the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings over and over again. I just became insanely in love with him. And guess what? It worked. I expected this excruciating pain in my heart to remain the same, but it lifted. My perspective shifted. I expected the cloud of ridicule and shame to move. And guess what? It did. I was no longer so rigid. I began to expect outcomes from my storms to be different. And so they were. I expected my life to positively change 360 degrees. And it evolved full circle. Now this encouraged me to continue to pray in a new manner, yet in the same way. I purposed in my mind to enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart and to enter his holy courts with praise. I fasted and prayed. I was insistent. I could no longer resist it, his presence. I thereby became consistent and persistent. I expected different results. I expected different results. I expected different results. Therefore, I prayed fervently. I continually prayed every day. I prayed the same way. I fasted and I prayed. I travailed, I wailed, and I implored. I went boldly. as I reverently approached his throne. I danced as if I were mad, senseless, until I recognized that my sin-sick soul already lied naked before him. So I offered up my broken heart for him to reshape, to remake, and to mold. He forgave me just because I asked him. He healed me just for the asking. He delivered me and set me free. He rebirthed my psyche and gave it liberty. I then reveled in his majesty. I then traversed within the spirit. He began to show me things differently. Every day, the same. Every night, the same. Every waking moment, the same. It took a while after I fasted and prayed, I must admit. And of course, I habitually and addictively acquiesced. And sometimes I'd fall readily asleep. But God would soon awake me from my bewitched stupor, and he would remind me that the deep calleth unto the deep. Therefore, I ain't hardly had no time to sleep. Subsequently, I found myself in this repeated, perpetual, repetitive test. Therefore, I resolved to pray. Remember, the devil don't rest.
Amen.
Now that I was determined to touch him and not just feel him. Because remarkably, people, it's not the same thing. My results are no longer the same. I simply wished to no longer be labeled as lame. So I avidly sought him. And because of my resilience, I was in hot pursuit of him. And for every prayer, it ended in Jesus' name. I expected different results. I expected different results. I expected different results. So I did everything the same as it pertains to being obedient to Abba Father. And this time, y'all, this time, the results weren't the same. Ironically, I've been psychologically transformed, and my cerebral has been rearranged.